best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. With this new Spider-Man coming out, the new Spider-Man #1, and kind of these revelations of let's drag Peter down and everything else. It does seem like there is an purposeful mission to want to keep the readers, the customers, unhappy with the character. It's odd. Just reading the comic, it was somewhat baffling to me why a company would do this to a character that just made $1 billion in the box office. Some part of me believes at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, No Way Home, no, anyway, the newest one. Um, they basically kind of mind wipe everybody, and Peter kind of lives alone in solitude. He's lost MJ. He's having to rebuild, and kind of it's almost kind of a sad ending, but he's still fighting forward. And but the problem is in that movie, they build up to that moment and they make it such that, you're kind of hopeful that, okay, well, how will Spider-Man, this is the next chapter. How will he get the memory back? The movie going fans who are watching this film have not completely lost hope that they're just being toyed with and they're going to forever kind of jerk the rug out from under our feet. The comic book, on the other hand, since, Sins Past, which was a just dreadful storyline that everybody hated, and then Marvel did a Hold My Beer and did One More Day, and then for a long time now, it's been the are we going to get Peter Parker back with MJ, and they kind of dangle this bait. Remember that character Jackpot? It's like, oh, is this MJ in a superhero costume? Is this how they're going to get back to? Nope, it's just some unknown person. And then Nick Spencer's run of Spider-Man felt like the first one in quite a long time where they tried to repair some of what went on. They tried to even address Sins Past to some extent to make it make sense and to not, but they gave Peter Parker some huge heroic moments with, the Craven's Hunt and the Sinister Sixes, kind of that battle that went on. And it just, there was a lot that they were doing there. And it ended with, first of all, the relationship was, coming back together, and it ended with them, trying to make it work. And so we moved into the Beyond era, and it felt like, as you listen to the writers, like, I know, let's put Peter in a coma, let's screw around with Ben Reilly, let's turn him into a weird villain, which I liked the outcome of that. And I mentioned, will they be able to keep this stuff going? They're now doing a clone team up with Madeline Pryor, which is like the opposite of a good idea. I don't know, maybe it'll work out fine. But Peter Parker in particular, they took what was giving the fans, some hope back, and they now it's, hey, MJ has kids, and they're on the outs, and they're broken up, and everybody hates Peter Parker, and you read this, and you're like, I don't know who this is being written for. It's clearly not being written for the customer at this point. Is there some strange belief from the writer, from the publishers, from Marvel, that the customers, the thing they like best about Peter Parker is when things go bad for him and they have to see him wallow in kind of despair and everything sucks, but he saves the world anyway? Is that what they believe is the secret to Spider-Man? It appears so, but that's not the heart and the nature of Spider-Man, not by a long shot. And it's strange to see the company continue to kind of go back to the well and screw these things up. It's an interesting strategy to test the fans, to say, we're gonna see if you're willing to put up with this. It's odd. It's very odd. I mean, the fans, in fairness to Marvel, the fans keep buying and they keep coming back, but none of this is healthy to kind of capitalizing on the major success of the movie. I mean, I was talking to one of the former writers of Spider-Man, and they're like, it's a shame that they can't capitalize on the movies. It makes so much money, but the comic book, it sells well, but it's like it's a drop in the bucket to what the movie does. It's like you're right, and it's a different audience, and there's a lot of different factors. And that's what I said. I'm like, well, it's not apples to apples. You're talking about going to buy a movie ticket for $7, and you're talking about a comic that costs $3.99 for 22 pages. You can read in like 5 minutes, and you have to really search to find that comic because it's only located in a comic shop, and the movies, everywhere where movies are, and I mean, it's just there's a lot of differences in that. But one other difference is the movies have at least some attempt at fan service. The bringing back Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and having the three Spider-Men together and doing this multiverse bit was fan service. Having the team up of villains past from the different areas, that was fan service. Doing kind of jokey stuff with Doctor Strange. I don't particularly like the jokey stuff, but that's also fan service. The masses that enjoy the MCU movies enjoy those quippy, jokey humor moments. They know what the audience wants. And I mean, the big criticism that you could probably lay at the MCU's feet is that it is a kind of almost carbon copy machine that is designed to give the masses what they want. Yes, that includes Thor. The masses who go to that movie are going to cheer when Jane Foster, she hits the hammer and becomes Thor, and we see her for the first time. People are going to find that a pretty cool moment because they've been following Natalie Portman, and she hasn't been one in the last movie, and oh, now she's suddenly back, and oh my God, she's Thor. It's going to be a crowd pleasing moment. That's what the MCU is fundamentally. That's one big reason why the DC movies, the ones that have struggled, because they don't steer into crowd pleasing moments. Now, I'm not saying your movie should be just vacuous and hollow and do nothing but fan service, but a little bit doesn't hurt. Maybe quite a bit doesn't hurt. If your goal is to make $1 billion, yeah, you need to satisfy the masses. You need to give them things that they're going to cheer for. In the comics, when you're picking up Spider-Man and we're getting kind of a snarky, unlikable Peter Parker and a unlikable Spider-Man who's on the outs with everybody, and even his quips and everything feel like they're dated and kind of like rubbing your face with sandpaper. And the one kind of personal relationship that the vast majority of readers want, which is a stable relationship with MJ. No, for that we're going to decide that, hey, they're broken up and she's got children for some reason from someone else. Like, we're just gonna make that idealistic romance that you wanted impossible. We're just gonna completely screw that up for you. Why? Why? Why be so against fan service? I'll say this. I don't think everything should be boiled into a comparison between manga and the Western comics. But what is interesting is manga knows quite well what fan service is, whether it's boobs, in many cases that is what fan service is for some of these, whether it's crowd-pleasing moments of a character returning from out of nowhere to save the day at the last minute, whether it's over in the yaoi genre, it's getting the two guys that you've been hoping would kiss to kiss. That's what fan service means. It means understanding who's buying your comic and giving them bits of what they've been begging for, and make them wait for it a little bit. Tease it out, build to that moment, and then deliver. And that tends to be a good strategy. It tends to make a lot of money. It tends to sell books and keep people employed and make successes. I do think, and I know I've talked about this in another video, there is a behavior inside of Western comics and the writers who are on them to say fan service is wrong. We shouldn't just give the fans what they want. We should give the fans what we think they need. And look up sometime, and you can see some blogs of current comic writers where they are really against fan service, and that's their number one irritation with manga content, with web comics. Tapas, there are people. It's like too many of those rely on fan service. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Relying on giving the fans what they want is not a terrible plan. Surprise them with things, absolutely. Give them things that they didn't know they wanted, but you're taking a good calculated bet that they will want it when they see it. But don't forget the fan service. Spider-Man #1 as a comic, it feels like somebody who's pretending like they're more clever than you are, wanting to kind of tease you out. Now, maybe Zeb Wells, he had a decent fan servicey run of Marauders. Maybe this is all just a bait and switch, and we're supposed to wait, and that's fine too. We will wait and see what happens. But in particular, read the room with a character like Spider-Man, who's had this bait and switch go on now for the better part of almost 20 years. That's a bad plan. People are exhausted. You can't do you thought it was going to be a happy ending, but no, we're going to rake him through the coals a little bit longer. To a character that's been having that happen for a good 20 years. This is not going to end well. You do need to take a lesson from the MCU. Give people what they want, at least in a higher percentage than you're doing now. Anyway, curious. The big return of John Romita Jr. to Spider-Man. It is sad. I mean, it's better than his work on Superman, but big parts of it are pretty rough, which was kind of sad to see. But still, I like Romita Jr. I'll stand by him. I think he's earned his place in the halls of amazing comic writers or artists. But this comic, I don't know what they're thinking. Thanks for listening.